Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, good day to you. Welcome to Bayou Sports Talk here down in the Bayou of Louisiana. And family, we are glad to be with you today. It's been a while, but it's good to be here. So, family, let's highlight our panel. And this is family also, in real blood family. Holla at them, Ray.
Oh, what's up? I had to check to make sure I wasn't on mute. Uh, what's up, y'all? I hope y'all doing good. I hope y'all doing well. The youngest of the bunch, Raymond. Just here to can't wait to get into our discussion about our Bayou teams and the things that has been transpiring over the past couple of weeks and months. So just tune in for this good discussion.
All right, coach. Holla at him.
It's me. It's me, Coach 67 Sports TV. Shout out to the awesome and amazing LDBC, Lions Den Boston community. Shout out to the greatest university in the world, the Southern University, home of the mighty Jaguars. In the words of my brother, Black Fight Fan TV, we back again and we black again, you dig? Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Yeah, that's what's up. That's what's up, fam. We have so much to catch up on. So let's start with the boxing things that have been going on, catching up on boxing. I know you guys love boxing. So if you can start us off, Ray, do you mind tell us what your thoughts, where you are with the fights that have happened in the past and what's to come?
Yeah, Rama, tell us about Shakur Stevenson fight this past Thursday.
All right, yeah. I watched the fight live when it was happening Thursday. Which when I first seen the advertisement for the fight, I was like, "That's a Thursday?" And I was like, "No, that." I'm like, "Man, that can't be right." I'm like, "This fight got to be happening." That's probably why that fight was so boring. Probably because it was on a Thursday. I just realized that, and the commentator was saying because they had some famous NASCAR race on the
Yeah.
Saturday and more. I'm like, I didn't know that many people was into NASCAR over boxing.
Oh yes.
But so yeah, the fight was on a Thursday, so I was watching it Thursday night. The co-main event, what I know I'm about to mess up his name, with Navarrete,
Navarrete, yeah.
Navarrete. That one ended in a draw, and that fight felt like a draw. And the Brazilian guy that he was fighting against, he dropped him twice, but if you watch the fight, the Brazilian guy won majority of the rounds. If he would have never got dropped in those 2 rounds, he might have would have pulled it off because they scored those 2 drops as a 10-8 rather than a 10-9. And if those were like 10-9s, that could have easily went his way. But man, that fight was very good, opposing the complete opposite of the main event. Oh man, like Shakur was my guy. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's the dude I was like, I think he the one, which I still kind of do think he could be the one, but not with performances like that, bro. Oh no, ain't no way, cuz it's like, man, he ran like the thing about it is he's a technical fighter, which you gotta respect a level of that, but it's like the running, like, okay, we good. We see that you good at evading, punches. Now I know the guy that he was fighting against, De Los Santos, uh, very powerful guy. And I'm like, of course, we want Shakur Stevenson is a high IQ guy. He's not gonna go up in there and get his brains knocked out, but it's like, bro, you gotta put on a show. You're a professional boxer for a reason. You train for this. It's like it's gonna have other fighters in the near future that's gonna be just as powerful as this guy. You can't run away from them. And so I mean, I do feel like the fight was boring. Of course, he won the fight because based on his technicality, him evading punches and landing strikes here and there, and you just know he's going to be favored because of his name. So it's like when fights like that happen, because even in the UFC, it's fights where it's like, man, this fight was kind of boring, but whoever has the bigger name, that's who most likely going to win because they want to continue to build up their name and stuff like that. So that's what people, they say like the sport is kind of rigged. and stuff like that. But yeah, that fight was boring. I hate looking at fights like that, and I know the judges hate judging fights like that as well. But I mean, yeah, that's all I could say. He ran the entire time, which I understand, but still, bro, you know you gotta put on a show.
Okay, Coach, what are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, I'm lagging a little bit, so if it seems like I'm a little bit behind, having Wi-Fi issues already, which is ridiculous. I think I need to switch providers.
But
Uh,
you're
but
good. You're good.
but the last time we actually had a show, it's been a while. But the last time we had a show, uh, it was leading up to Charlo versus Canelo, and of course, in that particular fight, Charlo laid down like a dog. I thought he was going to win the fight. But, one thing I kind of underestimated for that particular fight is how much the Charlo brothers really look up to Canelo, even though they spent a good portion of their career literally in the same division with this guy. Like, it's just sad how, Charlo, I lost a lot of respect for Jamel Charlo because, anytime is another black or African American fighter, he has a lot of rah-rah type of energy. But anytime it's somebody who doesn't have the same complexion in him as him, somebody that's not the same race as them, it's like he shows a different level of respect. And I really don't respect that, And so that's that, Canelo, he beat up on Charlo. Charlo just laid down. He just took the payday. I was disgusted by that. In terms of the fight that this past Thursday, uh, you know, pretty much Shakur Stevenson is pretty much along the same lines as Jamel Charlo. It's like anytime he fights someone it's not the same race as him, not the same complexion as him, it's like he has a different level of respect for him. However, when it's another black fighter, it's like he's real disrespectful. He's a certain level of energy. And the thing that just, I respect him as a fighter. He's highly talented and highly skilled. However, he's a clout chaser. I really don't like that. And in addition to that, it's like he's a snake in the grass. Devin Haney was this guy's. However, he's used Devin Haney's name to kind of build his own reputation, his own cachet. And more than anything, Top Rank, they did him a serious disservice because essentially they scheduled his fight around, like Raymond was saying earlier. I didn't realize this. I saw another brother in our group, Ill Will, until I saw his channel where essentially Bob Arum and Top Rank, they scheduled this fight around a Formula One F-150 race this weekend, which was stupid to me. And, he made it seem like, essentially all he did was use Devin Haney's the clout chase, and basically he's making it seem like he's this star. But without Devin Haney, he's shown that he's not a draw anytime they have to schedule your fight around a Formula F-150 race. And I didn't watch the fight live because it was too late for me. I had a lot of other things going on. But when I did watch the playback here on YouTube, I mean, it seems as if instead of being a highly skilled, high-level fighter, it seemed like he was a track star more than anything. He did a lot of running in the fight. He got to a point, like, I was kind of disgusted by it. And then when you add in Timothy Bradley's commentary, which is ridiculous, I mean, I couldn't stomach to watch the rest of the fight, so I didn't even watch the rest of it. All the brothers here in the LDBC, they've pretty much been giving Shakap, they've been giving him the business because he's a clout chaser. He's a habitual liar. He's a snake in the grass in terms of his friends. So, I respect him as a fighter. However, outside of the ring, I don't like the way he moves. And as a fight fan, I could differentiate the two. Now, aside from him, there's a lot of big things coming down the line in terms of the sport of boxing. Of course, since the last time, we had a show, which was a big fight when, Ramon was telling me about Tyson Fury as I was at A.W. Mumford Stadium and Southern was playing against Texas Southern. Tyson Fury and Francis Ngannou fought. By all accounts, I watched it. Francis Ngannou, who's a former MMA UFC heavyweight champion. Essentially, he beat WBC heavyweight champion Tyson Fury. However, like Raymond was saying earlier, he Tyson Fury in the sport of boxing, he is the bigger name, and as a result, they gifted him a fight that he really truly didn't win. So next, the undisputed fight was supposed to be a few weeks in December. Alexander Usyk, who's the unified champion, Tyson Fury is the WBC champion. They were supposed to fight, but because of his poor performance against Ngannou, they postponed the fight till later in February. In addition to that, another fight that's going to be in Saudi Arabia, the king of the heavyweight division, in my opinion, the bronze bomber Deontay Wilder. He's coming back to fight Joseph Parker. Also on that same card, Anthony Joshua is going to fight Otto Wallin, another individual that I think actually beat Tyson Fury. Besides Wilder and besides Wilder and Ngannou, I think Otto Wallin actually beat him. So those four individuals are going to fight on the card. Also, Daniel Dubois and Gerald Big Baby Miller. So it's going to be a stacked card in Saudi. That's one thing I'm looking forward to. In addition to that, undisputed WBC welterweight champion Terrence Bud Crawford. He's been stripped of the IBF title, which doesn't make any sense to me because he just won it, this summer against Errol Spence Jr. And they were supposed to fight the rematch at the junior middleweight division at 154. They're both 147-pound fighters. The issue with that particular situation is since Showtime is no longer in the sport of boxing, basically just like HBO, they did away with boxing. Spence is signed to PBC and Showtime. Showtime put on a fight for Spence and Crawford. So since Showtime is no longer in boxing, it's going to be interesting to see which network the fight is going to be on. Now, Spence, he made it clear that he wanted to fight the rematch at 154. However, contractually, they're obligated to fight at 147. But since Bud won, basically he has the option to take it up to 154. But it seems as if for whatever reason, even though he convincingly thoroughly beat Errol Spence Jr., it seems like he knows he has a competitive advantage in fighting at welterweight. So it seems as if he's going to fight the rematch at welterweight, which doesn't make any sense to me. If he had intentions on staying in the welterweight division, he could have just told the IBF, I know Jerron Boots Ennis has been a mandatory fighter, for a long time. After I fight this rematch with Spence, I'll fight Boots after. However, the IBF stripped him because I guess they thought he didn't intend to stay at the welterweight division. So now he's no longer undisputed. Jerron Boots Ennis is the IBF welterweight champion. So it's going to be interesting to see, when Spence and Crawford is going to fight a rematch. How much, since he's a new A side now, how much Crawford is going to flex that. And if he does beat Spence in the rematch, is he going to move up to 154 or is he going to stay at 147 to beat Boots also? So a lot going on in the sport of boxing. It's very interesting at this point.
Okay, guys. Well, let's jump into it because there's so much has been going on since. Tell me your thoughts. Let's jump to the NBA. What are your thoughts so far for this season? Because the NBA, if you've noticed, they have been changing their courts. That interests me. But the Pelicans, their colors, I'm not a fan of. Guys, what's your thought? There's so much has been going on. Coach, start me off, and also let's give a shout out to our family who's logging in. Jared, thank you for watching and rolling with us for so long. Coach, what are your thoughts?
Well, in terms of the NBA season, I mean, it's a pretty decent season so far. I think the biggest stories in the NBA thus far is how Damian Lillard, how he's adjusting to being with the Milwaukee Bucks at this point. The last time we had a show, Dame Lillard had been traded to the Bucks. However, the Bucks traded Drew Holiday to the Portland Trailblazers, but The Blazers hadn't sent him to the Celtics yet. So that's how long it's been since we had a show. Of course, shortly thereafter, the Trailblazers traded Drew Holiday to the Celtics. To me, I think the Celtics, I think they should play with a bigger lineup in terms of playing Al Horford at the 4, Porzingis at the 5. I would bring either Holiday, which I would start Holiday. I'll bring Devin White off the bench. That's how I would play that. But in terms of the biggest stories in the NBA to me thus far is the fact that basically Giannis and Dame, they have to gel together to see what the Bucks, how they really gonna turn out. And then of course, since we had the show also, James Harden was traded from the 76ers to the Clippers, which I didn't see that being a smart move by the Clippers. Now you have 4 dominant players that need the ball. Kawhi Leonard, PG-13 Paul George, Russell Westbrook, and James Harden. Tyronn Lue, the head coach, he's really going to have to do a lot to really make that situation work. I don't see how that's going to work. But however, he needs to he needs to do one or two things. Either he needs to put a system in which like those 4 players could feed off each other. They need to play much faster. They need to play real fast. They need to play at a up-tempo brand of basketball to get enough touches for the 4 of them. And he needs to incorporate some kind of system where they all get touches. And I mean, when I mean 4 touches, like touches for all 4 of them, I don't mean, hey, it's my turn. Now it's Raymond's turn. Now it's K's turn. Now it's Rude Dog's turn. Shout out to Rude Dog. He couldn't be with us. He's at work right now. So I don't mean the offense where it's my turn, your turn, my turn, your turn. I mean where all 4 of them are within the floor of the offense. Either he can do that, he's going to have to bring one of them off the bench. And if I had to bench one of them, that guy would be James Harden. James Harden is not in shape because he really didn't have no intent on being in training camp with the 76ers. So he's in the shape. And in addition to that, I felt like everything was flowing better when they had Westbrook on the point and PG and Kawhi was playing off of Westbrook. But now that you have 4 ball dominant individuals, I think it's a tough situation for the 4 of them. I don't see how that trade made the Clippers better in any way. To me, I think it was a silly trade. But that's just my take. To me, that's the biggest stories to this point in the NBA season.
Okay. Ray, what are your thoughts?
To address what you said, the reason why they changing the colors of the courts and they got those special color uniforms is because of the NBA in-season tournament.
Yeah, in-season tournament. Stupid to me. I don't mean to cut y'all. To me, that's a stupid idea. I mean, I think it's cool for college and high school to have these tournaments. I've been a high school coach, middle school coach. Those tournaments are cool around the holiday season, that type of thing. But NBA, that's stupid.
Yeah, because I didn't understand the purpose of that. But I'm sorry. Go ahead, Ray.
Yeah, and you're not really. I don't mean to cut you off, either Raymond and Kate, but like in high school, you might be playing for some type of, tournament championship. Same thing in college, early in the season, and most of these tournaments in high school and college, they're like early to season, even in middle school, But the NBA, like y'all professional athletes, there's no reason to have a tournament as opposed to just, hey, it's a tournament just for the sake of having a tournament, But yeah, to you, Ray.
Yeah, so like what I feel like most people feel like this as far as the tournament. Like then another thing about the tournament that doesn't make sense to me is how a tournament is consecutive, like it's like a tournament, so it's like the tournament games are like back to back to back to back.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the tournament was gonna be like that, but apparently the tournament is spread out throughout the season. Because like last week, the Pelicans had like a playing tournament game, not a playing tournament, but an in-season tournament. Then they played like a regular game. Then they had a turn. I'm like, it's just confusing. I don't even know how it works. I Google what's the prize of this tournament, and it's just money for the players and the runner-ups. And I'm like, bro, these dudes makes millions and millions and millions of dollars, and the team that wins, each player would get $100,000. That's chump change to them, bro. Them dudes spend that type of money on clothes and Louis Vuitton and stuff like that, bro. Like you'll be better off giving them a trophy are letting them be like whoever wins this tournament, no matter what their record is, they have a guaranteed spot in the playoffs. Like let it have some special like importance to it, but it's just I don't know, it's pointless to me. And that's just with the tournament. But like as far as like the NBA season, what I've been noticing, of course it's still kind of early. Some teams are getting warmed up. I feel like the Pelicans, they started off good, then they went on this kind of losing streak, and then they won two back to back to get back to 500. And they did it very impressively. They beat the Denver Nuggets last night, and they just played somebody recently the day before. Um, and I feel like they won by a pretty good margin.
Dallas Mavericks.
Yeah, the Dallas Mavericks. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Luca actually gave a compliment to Herb Jones. He was saying how good of a defender he is. But yeah, I feel like the Pelicans, they got a lot of contributors. Even Matt Ryan, he just hit his 28th three of the season. I don't know if y'all seen that, the 28th three reference with Matt Ryan.
Yeah.
Like that.
Oh, and one other thing too, Rule Dog is big on Hawkins.
Oh, hey, I'm starting to become. I really like that dude, bro. Hey,
Rule Dog is big on him. Yeah,
he came from the national championship, so he got that winning mentality. He Angel Reese's cousin. But like, yeah, like man, he dropped 30 some one game. I'm like, and he said how he like to study Steph Curry. So I'm like, bro, that'd be perfect. Somebody who will sit on the outside, and just he got a quick trigger, bro. If him and Trey Murphy get hot, man, look out. That's like the Splash Brothers, not 2.0. Not saying that they're gonna be a better version of them, but they could be like they could have some similarities to the Splash Brothers. But yeah, I feel like the Pelicans, once they start to get, rolling, man, like you got Alvarado that still needs to come back. Trey Murphy haven't come back.
CJ
And it's
McCollum
like,
collapse long.
huh?
CJ
Oh yeah.
McCollum has to collapse long.
Yeah, like once everybody come back full and healthy, man, this team is something to reckon with. But with that being said, you can't keep everybody. So it's like Trey Murphy, I feel like at some point he's going to deserve to be a starter, but he can't on his team. So the Pelicans within the next 2 years, they need to go on a run because the same thing that happened with the Saints is going to happen with them. They're going to have all this young talent and it's going to go to waste because they're not going to produce anything with it. So the Pelicans need to handle business. I eventually see Hawkins taking CJ McCollum position at like the starting point guard or something like that. But getting off the Pelicans and focusing on other teams, um, you know, talking about James Harden, he hit a game winner the other day. So he's starting to, I guess he's starting to,
He
find
lost 5 straight before that, though.
right. So it's like they probably gotta. I don't know. The Clippers gonna be the Clippers, bro. They always clipping themselves. Um, the Lakers,
I
it,
like that joke, Ray.
huh?
Yeah, that was a nice joke.
I like that joke.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. But yeah, what else? Oh, the Lakers. Man, watching First Take, watching Stephen A. Smith and all them guys go off. It's the same narrative every year. Every year they always AD and his injuries, AD and his injuries. I'm like, bruh, it's almost like insanity at this point with the Lakers. The same thing happening, and they keep expecting a different result. Like AD is what he is, bro. The dude is a walking. He's Mr. Glass. That's literally what he is, bro. So it's like, LeBron, I don't know what you're gonna do. Me, I feel like he should have never came to the Lakers. He should have just stayed in Cleveland for the rest of his career after he came from Miami. I don't know. That's just me. I have a different. I don't know. I just felt like things would have been better for him if he would have just stayed in Cleveland. But I don't know. I mean, of course, the Lakers went on a run last year in the playoffs, but I don't know. But yeah, like the Bucks and the Celtics, like last year, that's still my favorites this year, bro. The Celtics, they loaded. They got Drew Holiday, they got Jason Tatum, they got Porzingis, and they got
Al
Jalen,
Horford.
huh?
Al Horford and Jalen Brown.
Yeah, Al Horford and Jalen Brown. So it's like, hey, them boys got a squad, and bro, I'm just waiting for a game where Dame and Giannis go off. Like, bro, we know Dame could score 70, and we know Giannis could get like 50 points, 20 rebounds, and I just want to see like a game where it's like just this deadly combination of like Shaq and Kobe or something like that, you know. So, but yeah, the NBA season is still kind of in its early stages, so I don't get too hype. I don't get too high or too low on particular teams. I'm gonna see how stuff pan out. It's not like the NFL. The NFL after the first 7 or 5 games, you could be like, all right, this team is this team is that. NBA, you got like over 60 games, so a lot could transpire within, those games in those weeks. And then you got players that sit out. I was talking to somebody like about this. I cannot stand it. Imagine you buy tickets to go watch a team because your favorite player, and they like, oh, I want to sit out for personal reasons. It's like, bro, what is you doing? You know,
See,
So
MJ didn't do that. He played all 82 games a lot. And I don't mean to cut you off, Kay, but Raymond brought up some valid points about our Pelicans. Essentially, they started out good, like he was saying, but they kind of got bit by the injury bug. CJ McCollum, he had a collapsed lung. He hasn't been back since. Jose Alvarado really hasn't played yet. Um, Brandon Ingram, he kind of been getting nicked up here and there. Trey Murphy, he finally really starting to get into there. Najee Marshall. But Raymond is right, like in terms of the wing players, they have a lot of good young wing players, Herb Jones, Najee Marshall, Trey Murphy, kind of have to make a decision. I think Trey Murphy, he's not as athletic and not as good a defender as Herb Jones, but he's a much better shooter on the offensive end. So he's kind of more the 3-and-D guy, whereas Herb Jones is a better defender. He got paid, but offensively, he's just a liability. So at some point, they're going to have to kind of make a move with that. In terms of Brandon Ingram and Zion, they both have to stay healthy simultaneously. Jones, I feel like at certain times they really don't know how to use him because they have so many other weapons. CJ McCollum, he's more of a legitimate 2 guard than he's a point. So, like Raymond was saying, at some point Hawkins might supplant him, but really and truly, I think they need to let Kyle Lewis go at some point. Maybe Hawkins could be your backup and Alvarado could be your starter. So Alvarado could be your starting point guard. I mean, essentially, Herb Jones, he could play the 2 to 3 to 4 to 5. No, not the 5, but the 2 to 3 to 4. So, having Herb Jones, he's kind of like a positionless player. He's just a defender. You got Brandon Ingram, B.I., he played the 3. Zion played the 4 and 5. So I think some kind of way, like the pieces need to fit better together. But like Raymond said, it's early in the season. You really can't tell what's going to be what till later on in the season,
okay, guys. So we know that today, Saturday, the Pelicans will be playing the Timberwolves. What are your predictions? What are your thoughts? And because Zion, he's out today. Let's start with you, Ray. What
why?
you thought?
Why is Zion? It says why he's out. Is it for personal reasons again?
Well, they say he's on the injury report. So
Is it saying
um,
that I could go? But
I think they said that he has I'm unsure.
if you're looking on the ESPN app, I believe you could just click his name and it'll tell you like scroll
Okay.
down. It might tell you why. But I guess while you looking that up, I could just give my quick prediction. Um, I believe they played the Timberwolves already earlier this season and they lost to them.
Yeah, I think Brandon Ingram was out when they played him the first time.
Right. But me, NBA games sometimes they're hard to predict. You just hope the people come to play. Um, the Timberwolves they got Anthony Edwards. They got Rudy Gobert who just got choked out by
Choked out
Draymond.
by Draymond.
Dude, like he was
Yes,
a
that
UFC
was
fighter.
crazy. They need to seriously evaluate him and his situation. But before we dive into that, Zion is out because of rest purposes.
Yeah,
I think they want him to rest.
Yeah.
to be honest, you know what? we could get mad at it, but I'd rather them be conservative with his health than them be aggressive with his health. So I'm like, all right, look, bro, look, let the man get his rest in, whatever. You don't want to overexert any of his muscles, and he pulls something. Now he got a valid excuse to not play for the rest of the season and stuff like that. So I'm like, all right, bro, go get your rest, but don't rest too long, bro. But it's like, how many rest games have anybody else on this team taken?
Well, I mean, you could say the same thing about Brandon Ingram. I'm gonna be truthful. We kind of pick a lot on Zion in terms of him being injured, but his injuries are like major injuries.
All right.
Whereas Brandon Ingram gets nicked up a lot. He rolls ankles, he pulls hamstrings, that type of thing. He's always in and out of the lineup. And just to kind of uh, go to what you were saying, Kate, just to be truthful, Anthony Edwards, he a young dog. He even remind me a lot of a young Dwayne. I don't see the Pelicans beating the Timberwolves without Zion Williamson playing. And there's no telling who else. If he's sitting out, there's no telling if Brandon Ingram is going to play. We know CJ McCollum is not going to play. So I'm gonna be truthful. I don't see the Pelicans beating the Timberwolves.
Yeah, especially if they don't got their big three. Unless, somebody like Hawkins mess around and have like a unphenomenal game or something like that. Again, I really don't see them because I don't think the Pelicans can eat in the paint. I don't think Valanciunas will have a good game tonight against Rudy Gobert.
I mean, but the thing about it is, I mean, I think if he was the featured player, I think he would go in on Gobert. Gobert is a rim protector, and not only that, but on the offensive end, Gobert is like non-existent. You would think somebody that tall, if there's a guard or somebody on him, get the ball, he could post him up, he could score a bucket, but it's not his game. So, and plus Valanciunas, he could step away from the basket and shoot the ball also.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I think if you had to feature Valanciunas, I think he could get off against Gobert. But like I was saying earlier, I mean, the Pelicans have so many good players, and not only that, but I feel like often they really don't use Valanciunas to the best of his ability. So I still see the Timberwolves winning. So
Okay, so guys, since Ray mentioned this, what are your thoughts? Let's start with you, Coach, on Draymond's his actions, how he handles things. It's snowballing. I feel like if they don't handle this now, it's gonna be way worse than what it is. What it has been. Let's put it like that. It's gonna be worse. I feel like he is a problem child. Coach, what are your thoughts?
well, even before that particular incident, basically when it came to the Timberwolves, Draymond and Anthony Edwards, they had like a little back and forth, in the media or whatever. And then even in the game, he drove to the goal. He fouled Anthony Edwards hard, like very hard. And Ed was like, man, what you doing, man? Like, and he was like, man, shut the blank up. I'm not giving you no easy layup, blah, 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 blah. And he was like, hey, man, don't be fouling me like that, whatever, whatever. He's like, what you going to do about it? And of course, Anthony Edwards proceeded to go off. I mean, he looked like Dwayne Wade, Michael Jordan, and he just got off. Of course, they beat the Warriors in that game. This was another game they played the Warriors recently, and Klay Thompson and one of the other Timberwolves players got into it. And I'm not gonna lie, initially I kind of was in defense of Draymond because for a minute it did look like Rudy Gobert kind of had Klay Thompson around the neck, but it was only like momentarily, briefly. So Draymond responded in kind by, grabbing.
But it was
No, I'm about to finish. He grabbed Rudy Gobert around the leg, and he was choking him, and I'm like, what? So of course, on TNT, this was a huge thing where, Shaq, he kind of was in defense of Gobert, and Charles Barkley was like, man, that was excessive. So I kind of see from either perspective. I'm not gonna lie. Initially, I thought Draymond was justified in doing what he did because it seems as if Rudy Gobert was gonna choke Klay Thompson for a minute, but then after the fact, I'm like, nah. So I kind of see it from that perspective. But Draymond has his reputation for being a dirty player and going off the deep end in many instances. And of course, one record he's getting ready to break that people really haven't been talking a lot about. He's going to break Rasheed Wallace's, Roscoe Wallace, his record for technicals in NBA history or whatever the case may be. So he's going to break that record pretty soon. And plays and incidents like this is the reason why, he has that reputation. So I'm going to be honest with you, the Golden State Warriors can't win the championship without him in terms of, the hustle bunny play he is, the rebounder, the energy that he brings, him being an emotional leader of that team. So I think that's something that they need. So it kind of is what it is, but he's in my opinion, he's definitely a dirty player.
What Lil Scrappy said? We some head busters. That's exactly what Draymond Green is, bro. People be saying they want that old NBA back. Well, he gonna give it to you, bro. Man, I mean, that's just his reputation. He's become the villain. It reminds me of like the WWE scripts, where it's like, this person is like the villain, and like, this person is like the good guy. And he has, and true, I feel like he's truly has embraced that role as the villain. So the NBA, of course, they're going to punish him, but I feel like
Severely.
but I feel like low key they kind of like it because it creates this narrative.
And that's what I'm thinking, Ray. Maybe that is something that they like, and they're drawing other crowds, especially those that are used to the old NBA style. Maybe that's what they're also doing.
All right. So I mean, look, he playing the Pelicans. He do that to the Pelicans. I ain't for it, bro. Like when him and Herb Jones was going at it, I was like, hey. Like, but he do that to anybody else, is all laughing games. But it's like at first I used to be like, man, this dude, man, he always fighting with somebody. But it's like it does create this like interest to it. It makes you kind of want to root against them. Cause I ain't gonna lie, for the longest, I ain't like the Golden State Warriors,
I
bro.
still don't.
It's like all them threes. It's like all the girls used to like the Golden State Warriors. I wonder why. Pretty light skinned dudes, but that's why most of the
Yeah, look, Brown is back, baby.
girls is back and aggressive. But yeah, like I feel like they have created this like, are they trying to create like this villainous like type of, I don't know. It's hard to look at Steph Curry as a villain, but Draymond Green definitely brings that aspect. It's a good narrative, and it's something for sports media to talk about. Imagine if no drama went on in the NBA. A lot of sports media, they wouldn't really have too much to talk about, like Stephen A. Smith. They'll just simply talk about the outcome of games and analytics. But stuff like this is the type of stuff that gives Stephen A. Smith, Shannon Sharp, Skip Bayless they platform, because that's when their personalities come out. And like I could just picture, I mean, I'm pretty sure Stephen A. Smith has talked about this several times, but I haven't had a chance to watch any, episodes of like First Take or Undisputed. But Stephen A. Smith, like just going off and stuff like that. People want to like tune in and watch that, and stuff like that don't happen. People not gonna really want to watch that. You know what I'm saying? So, I feel like it's they low key like that stuff.
Ray, you are a character. Coach, what are your thoughts? Do you agree it's something that they're trying to do to draw others in, or do you think he's just really snowballed, and he has a problem?
No, I'm gonna be truthful. I mean, he brings what they need to the table in terms of them winning. Now, don't get me wrong. That championship against the Cavaliers, where he hit LeBron in the testicular region, I legitimately believe he cost him that championship. However, to be truthful, they wouldn't have been in a position to win those other 3 championships without him. So, truthfully speaking, I mean, he brings what they need to the team. Some people kind of like, compare him to Dennis Rodman in terms of him being a agitator, a great defender, a hustle bunny. Him bringing that energy to their team. He's definitely their emotional leader, because Clay is not that guy. Steph is not that guy. Andrew Wiggins, even though he was the number 1 overall pick, he's kind of more like a role player more than anything.
So,
Um,
coach, do you think since he is that player that they need to change the dynamics to basically bring it home for them, do you think he will not, since they are going to punish him, and do you think that his actions determine what kind of punishment he has?
I know the fact that he has a reputation for being this guy. Just like I said, I mean, Rasheed Wallace, he was like, uh, in terms of he had the NBA record for having the most technical fouls. Draymond Green is, I think he's tied with him at this point. He's getting ready to surpass him pretty soon. So I think it would have been any other player. The punishment might not be as harsh, but they're definitely gonna come down on him severely because he has a reputation for being this guy. We talked about the championship that he caused them against the Cavaliers when he hit LeBron in a area, in the gonads, the bars, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah, he was
But I
ejected.
think he destroyed the chemistry of their team last year. I think after that point, after he punched out Jordan Poole, they had no choice but to get rid of Jordan Poole because it seemed like they just weren't the same team after that. So, like I say, in my opinion, I think he's a dirty player, but at the same token, he kind of brings what they need to the table. And just truthfully speaking, I'm not even gonna lie. Even if you put a player that was a great defender and a ball handler, even though he kind of fell off, I'm gonna just say if you brought the 76th version, the 76th version of Ben Simmons to this current uh Golden State Warriors team, and you replaced him with Draymond, you replaced him with Draymond, swapped him with Draymond Green out, and he could be the guy he was with the 76ers. I still don't think it would have the same impact for the Golden State Warriors because, he brings a different energy, not just what he does on the court in terms of being like a point forward type of facilitator. Him being a glue guy, him being a defender, a rebounder, that type of player. But it's like the energy, him being an emotional leader of that team, like that's a legitimate thing. So even though he's dirty with it, in my opinion, I think that's what they need. What he brings to the table is what they need. Even if, they brought another player, of course, the Pelicans would be stupid to even consider it. But I know recently on Gilbert Arenas' podcast, basically Gilbert Arenas and Kenya Martin and the crew, they was talking about, hey, if the Pelicans traded Zion Williamson to Golden State Warriors for Clay and Draymond, they were saying how, the Warriors would take off, do whatever. And then, basically they were saying like, yeah, even though Zion is a more talented player than Draymond, the intangible things that Draymond brings to the table, like Zion don't have those characteristics and those attributes in terms of the energy, him being a hustle bunny, him being a dirty guy if necessary, whatever the case may be, him being a force on a team. So I think those things, those extra intangibles is kind of what puts him over the top. But in terms of last year's team, they had no chance of repeating once he punched Jordan Poole out. But he's definitely a dirty player. I think the NBA is going to come down on him harshly because of what he did to Rudy Gobert.
So like I was saying, coach, do you think being that he is the hustle bunny, like you say, will determine whether they are more laxed on his punishment? Yes?
No. I'm saying,
No? So it's
I'm saying
more of a reason they will be more harsh.
no, because his reputation precedes. I mean, he's tied for being the player in NBA history that has the most technical fouls. I mean, he's been ejected a ridiculous amount of games, playoff games included. So that's what I'm saying. They're gonna come down on him harshly because of his reputation.
Okay, so they will be more harsh on his punishment.
Yeah.
Okay, so guys, let me move and change the shift the things, and let's go into the NFL. So and there's so much going on in that aspect as well. So let's start with the current college football season. And so let me ask you, have you all been keeping up with Colorado? Because I know Colorado has gotten a lot of attention from people, and to say where they were and where they're going, I think there was a great difference because they weren't a winner, even if they've lost as many as they have won. Do you still think, because I just in my heart I feel that they're going to be climbing the ladder once they get the right players in place, things will change for Colorado. What are your thoughts, coach? And what is the biggest story that you think is in the college rim?
Well, in fact, I'm gonna swing this one to King Ray. Go first, Ram.
All right, me, what I feel about Colorado, man, you know they got a lot of hype when he first came. Of course, it's prime time. It's Dion, of course. Wherever he goes, the camera's gonna go. But I think I kind of predicted this that they was gonna win like probably like 5 to 4 games and stuff like that. But of course, they got off to a quicker start than most people thought. Me, I thought they was gonna start off slow. Then once they got to games like Washington State, who they just got smacked by, I thought they was gonna win those games down the line. I didn't think they would beat USC. I didn't think they would beat TCU. But
Oregon.
Oregon. Wait, they lost to Oregon. They got
Yeah,
smacked by
that's what
Oregon.
I'm saying. You said you didn't think they were gonna beat them.
Yeah, right. But they beat. No, they lost to USC, right? Or they beat
No,
USC.
they lost to USC, they lost to Oregon, beat
But they beat
TCU.
TCU. Yeah, they beat
Yeah,
TCU. And I think they beat one other. Oh, didn't they beat Nebraska?
yeah, they beat Nebraska.
They beat Nebraska. That's the team I'm thinking of. Like a team that was like that has more notoriety and
Mhm.
stuff like that. So this hype train started to develop with them, which wasn't bad, but it is going exactly how I expected. Me personally, I still feel like Deion Sanders should have never left JSU. He was developing something that was unique. He was developing something that was like his own realm that nobody was going to be able to touch. Like he was going to be the king of HBCU football coaching. Well, not the king because you got your
Eddie
boy
Robinson.
Eddie Robinson that used to coach at Grambling. But that's the thing though. Don't they have an award that's named after him that they give to college coaches? Like
Yeah,
that goes to show you how it don't matter what level you at. If you're a good coach, you're a good coach. So me, I've always felt like, man, you did not need to leave that school to really show your greatness. Like, bro, I don't think he really truly seen he was really building a kingdom there. And the way Eddie Robinson transpired HBCU football and his name is forever engraved in coaching and football history, the same thing would have happened to Dion, bro. He would have got HBCU football, I feel like on the same low key, almost on the same level as the rest of the D1 schools as far as like media and television and like TV time. But it's like he left. But I don't want to get too far off the subject with that either. But what Colorado has been doing, man, I don't know. Dion need to fix it. I see posts about how like some of the players are like jealous of each other, and I knew that was going to eventually happen. When I seen Shador and Travis Hunter, I believe they was at a Denver Nuggets game. I'm like, bro, their teammates they're not gonna like that because them dudes they get in the spotlight and stuff like that and stuff. And I know I could just tell but I don't know. It's just life. To say this is his first year, he did meet their goals. I don't think he exceeded goals. I thought he was going to exceed the goals, but he met their goals. So that's what I feel about Colorado. College football as a whole, been pretty good. I feel like my prediction of the Heisman gonna be right. Jaden Daniels gonna win the Heisman. That dude is putting up video game numbers every game. He should have been getting this attention. I feel like Georgia gonna go on a three-peat at this point. I don't think nobody really messing with Georgia. Um, all those other teams like Michigan, JJ McCarthy, he got a lot of hype, but man, his stats, like if you go look at his stats, ain't nothing really sticking out about him. Michael Pendrix, the quarterback for Washington, pretty good, but Washington don't got a team where I feel like they could really do anything. You got Bo Nix in Oregon. Like I said, Georgia's gonna go on a three-peat. I'm ready to enjoy some of these bowl games. and just get ready for next year. I wonder if LSU, hopefully LSU should definitely be able to reload. They got some nice talent sitting on their bench. And as far as HBCU football, Southern ain't been playing the way we would like to see them play. Um,
As well as them letting their coach go.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah. We're gonna touch on it a little bit later.
yeah, right. But yeah, that's how the football, college football been for me. Of course, it's football, so I'm gonna enjoy it and stuff like that. So I wouldn't sit here and say that college football hasn't been entertaining. Colorado did bring some entertaining stuff, but they have fallen to the wayside. They got their tails beat last night. I didn't even watch it. Some told me them boys about to get smacked up. And Deion Sanders still mad they got them playing 9:30 games on a Friday night. Like nobody ain't about to watch that dude.
Okay, coach.
Well, first of all, I disagree with Raymond. I think Colorado has exceeded expectations, in my opinion. The reason being is because they only won one game last year. And, once he left JSU and he went to Colorado, I mean, we didn't expect him to get, even though, he took Shador and he took his other son, Shiloh. He took Travis Hunter with him. Eventually, he was able to get Sylvian Wilkerson from J State to Colorado. So, I mean, we didn't think he was going to be able to get as many skilled players as he got through the transfer portal. Aside from those 4 that came from J State, right? But he was able to get a lot of skilled players. I mean, Colorado only won one game last year, so for them to expect to make a turnaround and win 7-8 games, that was unrealistic. Initially I thought they were going to win maybe like you said, maybe about 5-6 games, but like Raymond said, they started off hot, and the hype train was rolling. As a result, we thought they were going to at least be ranked in the top 25 and they were going to be bowl eligible at the end of the year. But the way things are going, it don't look like they're going to be bowl eligible, for one. And more than anything, I kind of seen this story already at Jackson State. When he first came to Jackson State, it was right in the midst of the pandemic, because for the SWAC, I keep bringing this up, regular college football in terms of D1, the Power 5 conferences, they had a fall season. However, the SWAC suspended the fall season, and instead of having spring training, they had a spring season. And that's when Coach Prime and Jackson State played. And that first year, they really, in that spring, he didn't do too much. And when they played against Southern smacked them. However, in that fall, Shador came, and he brought a lot of skilled players with him. And you saw the transformation of Jackson State. However, when they transitioned to last year, they added in the line play to go with the skilled players. And that's what made them like an even more dominant team in the SWAC. So more so than anything, I think he's going to make that same type of transformation at Colorado. Like we were saying with my brother Jared 11 Green on the Southern Baller Show last week, Rome wasn't built in a day. It's not going to happen overnight. It's a process. But I'm not going to lie, I think next season he's going to have more skilled players. But more than anything, he's going to have the line play up front on both sides of the ball in terms of the offensive line. I think Colorado is going to be something to deal with next year, and even more so the year after that. They're going to really be a team to deal with. Now, in terms of what Raymond was saying, I think Jaden Daniels is still one of the front runners to win a Heisman. I know Caleb Williams has kind of struggled as of late, but I still think he's the kind of front runner because, I think more so.
Caleb Williams?
Huh?
You think Caleb Williams still a front runner?
I think so. I mean,
he's not even in the top 5 no more.
You don't think?
Man, no at all. They got Jaden Daniels number 1. They got Bo Nix number 2. Got Marvin Harrison. They got the quarterback from Washington, and they probably got like some other person. But he been out ever since he lost, and he had a couple of bad games. They they took him out. He
Yeah,
not.
and that's one thing we talked about on the Southern Baller Show is the fact that even my brother Jared Loving Green, he was saying a lot of these offensive coordinators for these college teams. He pointed out USC and Colorado in particular. He was saying that these teams, they really don't have no balance. And I know Coach Prime was saying that the fact that they don't have no offensive line play. But even with that being said, this was the issue that a lot of members of Jaguar Nation, a lot of Southern fans had with Coach Dooley, is the fact that he didn't have there was no balance to his play calling. And we could say the same thing about a lot of these PWIs, whether it's Colorado, whether it's USC. And like he was saying, he felt like they was padding stats in terms of just throwing the ball more to kind of get Caleb Williams, another Heisman Trophy, having him win Heisman Trophy back-to-back years. And he was saying that even with the Coach Prime situation, it was like, they was trying to gain more notoriety for Shador as to having him throwing the ball more and more and more and more. Where
Right.
more than anything, they were getting him hurt because the offensive line is terrible. Like you need a run game to kind of take some of that pressure off him. And I know the offensive line, they suspect, but like you can run draws, you can run shovel passes, you
The
can run
running
screens.
saying that
Say that again.
the running back from one of their backup running backs from Colorado was actually saying how they like selfish and stuff like that.
No, but we were saying the same thing on the Southern Baller Show in terms of basically, they could supplement your lack of running game, how deficient your offensive linemen are in terms of, basically, all right, if the line's struggling, if you struggling in terms of getting hit in a lot in the passing game, you could run the ball more to help Shador. And in addition to that, even if they're struggling to run the ball, you could throw some screens to your wide receivers and to your running backs out the backfield. You can run some screens, some draws, some shovel passes, jet sweeps, things like that to kind of diversify your offense. The same thing, Southern fans were saying about Coach Dooley. So more than anything, I think a lot of issues that, Colorado and USC and those type of teams were having, like a lot of offensive coordinators were having those same issues across college football. And that's it in a nutshell more than anything. But of course, the biggest story I'm about to get to that in a minute, but just to kind of have a rebuttal what you were saying about Coach Prime, I'm going to be truthful. We knew the moment he stepped foot on Jackson State's campus that eventually a PWI or Power 5 was going to come calling, and eventually he was going to leave and go in that direction. And the thing about, him kind of comparing him to Coach Eddie Robinson is the fact that for a large portion of Coach Eddie Robinson's time at Grambling, there was integration. So, you got players that played in the NFL that didn't have the option to go to a PWI. Basically, they had to go to Southern or Grambling or another HBCU. And even if even post integration, where they could go to PWI, they might not have got the kind of attention they wanted. I mean, even if you look at somebody like
Shannon
Steve
Shaw or Jerry Rice.
Yeah. Like, we talk about Jerry Rice, we talk about Walter Payton, but even if you look at somebody like Steve Ed McNair in the early 90s, essentially a lot of PWIs wanted him, but they didn't want him to play quarterback. They wanted him to transition to DB or let him play another position. He was like, no, I'm adamant about playing quarterback. Alcorn State was the only school that allowed him to play quarterback. So that was the reason why he went to Alcorn as opposed to going to Ole Miss and Mississippi State or another PWI. And then in addition to that, those major schools, when it came to Coach Eddie Robinson, even like the Rams, he had an interview with the Rams, but it was a token interview. They had no intent of actually making him the head coach of the LA Rams. Whereas with Coach Prime, he's not like the average coach in terms of, even if you look at like Eddie George at the Tennessee State, Eddie George, won a Heisman Trophy. He played a lot of years with the Tennessee Titans, but there's an aura around Coach Prime. He has a certain swag about him. He was synonymous for, even as a player, he was the player that a lot of other players wanted to be and all the women wanted to be with. And even a guy like Eddie George, who won a Heisman Trophy, he doesn't have that aura and that presence around him. And we knew that he brought a lot of attention to HBCU football. He brought a lot of attention to the SWAC, and he brought a lot of attention to Jackson State. But we knew at a certain point, the moment he stepped on Jackson State campus, it was going to open doors to him. Eventually, he was going to go to a PWI or Power 5. So I think, comparing Coach Robertson and Coach Prime is like comparing apples to oranges. I knew he wasn't going to ever be there long. So, I kind of disagree with Raymond on that. But in terms of, Southern, we're going to talk about that in a little bit, But back to UK.
Okay, well, with that being said, let's go ahead and talk about Southern. They released their coach, and we have a interim coach. And Coach, you could go ahead and lead us in that.
Well, of course, Southern University let go head coach Eric Dooley. Jaguar Nation has been calling for Coach Eric Dooley to be fired, since early in the season, because truthfully speaking, to say he's this offensive guru, he coached at multiple teams in the SWAC, at UAPB, at Grambling. He was the head coach at Prairie View. To say he's supposed to be this offensive guru, the offense was trash, and he has a lot of talent on the offense. Don't get me wrong. Harold Blood, he's not as good as a prime Eric Randall. He's not as good as a prime Quincy Richard or Terrence Levy or a lot of other good quarterbacks Southern has had. But in terms of wide receivers, he has August Petrie III. He has Jalen Howard. He has Chandler Whitfield. He has Cassius Allen. So he has a lot of weapons at the wide receiver position. In terms of the running back position, he has Gary Quarles Jr. He has Kendrick Grimes, who to me at this point, he's the feature back. He has Kobe Dillon. So he has weapons at wide receiver and running back. The offensive line is not as good as it was last year. They missed Jeremiah Black. So more than anything, I know, the offensive line isn't as good. But in terms of his play calling is trash. His clock management, his game management, his decision making. Even if you look at the last game against Prairie View, which ended up being a nail in the coffin, the whole year Jaguar Nation and Southern University's fan base has been calling for, him to mix it up. We knew the two true freshmen, Scotlandville High quarterback Zay Tessett and Georgia quarterback Jalen Woods, like they were the two most talented, but he was going to redshirt them, so he wasn't going to ever give them consideration to play. But at no point did he consider putting in Noah Biden for transfer from Grambling, UAPB transfer Dylan Marotta. At no point did he really put them in the game unless Blood got hurt for a couple plays or whatever the case may be. He stuck with Harold Blood the whole season. It's just like he was just stubborn and he was adamant about things being his way. Like he had no sense of urgency. He wasn't willing to change, and as a result, Jaguar Nation, they wanted him out. And after the Prairie View game, it pretty much was a nail in the coffin. But from a talent standpoint, if you look at every game Southern played where they were evenly matched with the opposing team, whether it was Alabama State to start the season, Jackson State, FAMU, Alcorn State, Prairie View, every game in which Southern was evenly matched with somebody, Southern lost every last one of those games. The only game Southern won is the games that they were supposed to win. But in terms of the 50-50 games, Southern lost all of those games. And truthfully speaking, it was all due to Coach Dooley. So it was time for Southern to pivot and go in a different direction. The conversation is more of like which archetype should Southern choose? Should they choose a coach, Pete Richardson type coach, a coach that's going to be there for like 10, 15 years and really going to build up the program and win multiple SWAC championships, multiple Celebration Bowl appearances, multiple Black National Championships, or should they go with the Coach Prime archetype in terms of somebody that's going to be there for a few years and eventually he's just going to use Southern as a stepping stone to a PWI or Power 5 type job. So in terms of like the front running candidates, there's this guy, his name is Chennis Berry. He was the offensive line coach, the assistant head coach, and the offensive coordinator, Dawson Odoms. He's the head coach at Benedict College. He has ties to Southern. He's kind of like the front runner for that particular job right now, from what I'm understanding. But a lot of people are high on Chennis Berry. He has ties to both Southern and South Carolina State. since Coach Buddy Pugh is not coming back to South Carolina State, he could kind of go either path. Either he could stay at Benedict College because Benedict College is a SAIAC team. Essentially, won the conference championship or whatever. They in the Division II playoffs. So, is he gonna stay at Benedict College? Is he gonna go to South Carolina State, or is he coming to Southern? I think he's the front runner to get the Southern job. Also, Coach Trey Oliver, he also has ties to Southern. He led North Carolina Central to the Celebration Bowl victory last year over Jackson State. He's probably number 2 in the clubhouse behind Chennis Berry. Also, there's a lot of coaches in, just kind of in the HBCU world. Of course, also another front runner for Southern's job is the University of Florida running back coach. And he's also assistant head coach. He's the recruiting coordinator. His name is Jabbar Jaluk. From what I'm understanding, Southern offered him the job before they gave it to Coach Dooley to leave the University of Florida to come to Southern. But the reason he didn't take it was because basically he wanted his assistant coaches to get paid more. So the fact that Southern was going to pay him like $300,000 a year, he wasn't going to be able to give his assistant coaches as much as he wanted to get paid. So, some members of Jaguar Nation, some of them want Chennis Berry, some of them want Jabbar Jaluk, some of them want Trey Oliver from North Carolina Central. However, there's another portion of the fan base, they kind of want the high-profile celebrity-type coach. Even though, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying they're like celebrities in terms of being actors or movie stars. I mean, in terms of like high-profile, like Coach Prime-type guys. Some people want Ed Reed, which that's completely off the table, the way he handled the situation with Bethune-Cookman. Other people want Kevin Falk. Other people want, maybe them to go after Eddie George from Tennessee State. Or maybe like an NFL type guy, like a Hugh. So, a lot of different people want to go in a lot of different directions. But more than anything, I think administration needs to get this right, because as members of Jaguar Nation, we deserve a better product. I went to every single home game. I went to see him play Alcorn State. Southern performed poorly most of the year. The offense had to carry the defense. Once Taj Brown got hurt, of course, multiple games in a row, Southern had to lean heavily on their defense and their special teams to pull games out the fire. But it seems like at the end of the year, Southern defense kind of gradually started to break down. And once Taj Brown got hurt, like the defense just kind of it's been in shambles. Last week against Prairie View, Southern offense was trash and their defense, especially without Taj Brown. They tried to put him in the fourth quarter, but he's clearly injured and he was hobbling around. He just wasn't the same guy. It's like having him on one side and Kelby Gibbons on the other side. Those two bookends to really get a pass rush. That really kind of is what fueled Southern's defense. I mean, even though, Christian Davis and Jordan Carter and Jalen Campbell, at linebacker and DB, they played good on the back end. But having those two bookends up front is kind of what made Southern defense tick. But more than anything, administration needs to get it right. And, of course, athletic director Roman Banks, he needs to do a good job, because when they call for Coach Dooley, they also call for Coach Roman Banks' job. So I think he kind of got rid of Coach Dooley, even though they're frat brothers from what I'm understanding. He got rid of him to kind of save his own self, because a lot of members of Jaguar Nation, they're not happy with the job he's done as athletic director also. So they need to get it right. If it was my decision, I say take Chennis Berry, me personally,
Ray, what are your thoughts?
My thoughts on Southern firing Coach Eric Dooley is, hey, when you don't get the job done, it's time for you to go. Especially when you got the pieces that you have. You gotta make adjustments. Like, it is one thing for a coach to struggle, but if you're struggling, like let's just say you're in a sinking ship and you see where the water is coming in from. Common sense is gonna tell you to patch up the hole where the water is coming in from, so the boat could stop sinking. So if you're a head coach and you see what the errors and the issues are on your team, why can't you make the adjustments and make the changes? Stupid stuff like that is what really get coaches fired. It's not because you do a bad job. Look, bro, this sports. Every season not going to be a good season. I'm pretty sure fans, we understand that. And as hard as it is, we're fully acceptable of that. But it's like you got to put forth effort, man. And it's like when you're just stubborn and you're just stuck in your ways, that counts against you in a very negative way. So yeah, like Southern moving on to the next. Of course, you won't find success. So hopefully the next coach could find success and be more of a football minded guru that we're looking for.
Oh, and just to, Raymond and I was talking about this earlier. For those people that haven't saw Southern play this year, watching Southern play is kind of like watching New Orleans Saints play. Of course, Derek Carr has a tendency to hold the ball too long. Harold Blood has the same issue. The issues that the Saints had with their offensive line, Southern has had those issues a good portion of the season. In the ways the Saints had to rely heavily on their defense, Southern has had to rely heavily on their defense. So in terms of the way the two teams play, they pretty much a parallel. And in terms of right now, Coach Terrence Graves is the interim head coach. He was also the interim head coach, a few years back for Grambling, and he led Grambling to an upset win over Southern in the Bayou Classic. So now he's on the opposite sideline, and he could potentially do the same thing. So it's kind of interesting to see, like, he's like one of the only coaches, even though you've had a lot of coaches that coached at multiple schools at the SWAC, coached at both Southern and Grambling, but in terms of being a head coach for the interim head coach for both teams, I think he's the only guy I can remember ever doing that.
Okay, guys, so let's change the narrative and let's go on to move on to the NFL. And what are your thoughts on where we are in the NFL, and what would be the move you would make, Ray?
What, what you mean a move I would make?
As in, look, like example, I'm looking at with the Ravens, how you have if I don't know if you saw the game, the Ravens, you know they they were doing fairly well, but Lamar, he was injured, but he still went out there and played injured, and which can snowball. But would you put your second string in to give your quarterback some rest, or
Well, boy, I
what
think the
moves would
question
you make?
he
I'm
asking,
sorry.
you talking about the one specific team, or you talking about the league as
I'm
a
just
whole?
saying overall.
All right, but I mean, all right, I think I know where you're going
I
with that.
mean, as far as like that game, like Lamar Jackson ain't the story of injuries when it comes to that game. It's obviously Joe Burrow is the story of
Yes.
people getting injured. But I'll talk about the league as a whole, and of course I'll specify on the Saints. Man, the Saints gonna make the playoffs. I truly feel like we're gonna win the division. Barely, we're gonna barely win the division.
You're very hopeful.
I mean we still number one. I feel like Carolina already lost, so I mean, I'm not even concerned with Carolina, but I feel like Atlanta and the Bucks both gonna lose tomorrow, which we at 500. It's gonna be very similar to the 2011 season with the NFC West teams, like the Seahawks and the 49ers. The year the Seahawks made the playoffs when they were 7-9 and stuff like that. So I feel like it might be similar to that. Um, so yeah, the Saints gonna make the playoffs, but probably gonna get smacked up in the first round. Bold prediction: the Eagles will be number one in the NFC, but they're gonna get upsetted. I feel like the Eagles is going to collapse. They're bound to collapse. So that's just my bold prediction for the playoffs, that the Eagles not going to even come close to sniffing the playoff. I mean, come close to sniffing the Super Bowl. They're gonna
Do
lose
you
their
think so?
game. Yep, I just said. Yep, that's my prediction. Um, yeah. So the Eagles, they're gonna lose their very first playoff game. As far as the season, it's a lot of ups and downs. Um, the 49ers went on like a 3-game losing streak, but it seemed like they bounced back. The
What
Ravens,
about Kansas City? What are your thoughts on
the,
Kansas City?
the Ravens, they do seem like they're the best team in the AFC at this moment. Lamar Jackson, and they got the top defense. The Chiefs, they've been playing very mediocre this year. I don't think they're anybody to really watch out for. Um, So yeah, the top. I feel like the top teams in the AFC is really the Ravens. I would say the Ravens. I would say Miami. Those are like the top two teams. The NFC, I feel like is more stacked. You know, the Cowboys. Look for the Cowboys to make a run. The Cowboys. Who else? The 49ers. The 49ers are stacked. I feel like they're back to the 49ers that they truly are and stuff like that. But that's just focusing on like some of the teams around the league. But to really specify on the Saints, like how we was talking about Eric Dooley, yeah, Dennis Allen is a very irritating, stubborn coach. You got some people who are stubborn, and you have some people who are very irritatingly stubborn. And his stubbornness irritates me, bro, because it's almost like the media and like people who ask them questions are kind of giving him hints that he was like, no. They'll be like, "Do you consider making a quarterback change?" No, we're not changing our quarterback. Like, are you freaking serious, dude? Take Derek Carr out the stinking game and put Jameis Winston in there. Like, bro,
Yes, come on, Ray.
you see, it took this man getting. It's almost like God Himself is trying to help Dennis Allen. It took James. It took Dennis. It took Derek Carr getting hurt for Jameis Winston to come into the game. And me and my friends was talking about, boy, if Jameis Winston mess around and comes back and win this game for us, do not give Derek Carr the starting position back. We don't care what. But sadly he didn't. But still, I feel like Jameis Winston showed us enough for him to be the starting quarterback. Me and Coach was talking about this earlier. I was saying, I feel like Derek Carr is kind of still of a better quarterback than James, but Coach said that James is a better quarterback than Derek, and I cannot be mad at that, based off of how they're playing. The defense, old. This year, bro, we probably could keep Demario Davis, but a lot of those older vets, man, let them dudes walk, bro. See the young guys like
So
Paulson.
what about what do you think Cam needs to? Because I think Cam is still handling business.
I think he talking Honey Badger
Yeah,
and
Honey
those
Bad.
type of
Okay.
players.
But I mean, Cam Jordan, not the Cam Jordan of his prime, but
You know,
he's kind of slow. He's still Cam Jordan, but it's like I don't know. Like you don't really need to keep him. Like if you can, yes, keep him. But ain't nobody that you need to really go out the way for to keep, man. Like get them young guys on the defense. Like Paulson and Debo is really showing you like it's time for the young people. Like we got some good young DBs. Alante Taylor, Marshawn Lattimore's the vet. Who we got?
Paulson Debo,
Yeah, Paulson and Debo. Who else we got at safety?
Lante Taylor.
Yeah, I said I
Okay.
had said them two. I'm trying to think of another DB that we got.
Rest of the DB's trash, you ask me.
I'm trying to remember. It was some DB that he kind of stepped up in the game.
May is trash.
No, not May. Like May and Matthew, they vets. They like old guys. Like
But no, but I'm just saying May trash though.
I hate watching them pursue the runner. I hate watching them go. You see how they tackle? They just stand up there and they like try to bend down and like, dude, that's not how you freaking tackle, dude. You're a pro football player, bro. Like, come on, man. Like, yeah, the Saints be tripping me out on defense, and the offense ain't no better, bro. Somebody was saying this. It seemed like whoever Derek Carr quarterback, his wide receivers always getting into some kind of trouble with the law and stuff like that. Because the same thing happened when he was in Vegas. But yeah, like man, you got all these weapons. They got Jimmy Graham back. I thought Jimmy Graham was gonna be a wash, but the way that Jimmy Graham played in the preseason and that touchdown he caught against Green Bay, I thought they would use him in the red zone way more. But it's like, it's like y'all letting this man go to waste. Like at least try him out in the
Yes, so
red
that
zone.
tells you the coaching. Well, the head coach is not making the decisions he needs to make to let his team thrive.
And like you got Elvin Kamara, Mike T. I don't know if Mike T is back to the Mike T or will ever get back to the Mike T that we once knew, which I don't think he will. But man, it's like it's a lot of situations that the Saints offense get into where it's like you could easily pick up the first down, and it's like they do something that's stupid. It's like Pete Carmichael like running full verticals. Well, his play calling has been better. And I know we was blaming him at first, but it's really Derek Carr.
Yeah.
The dude can't make reads at all, bro. The dude, you probably could hand him a Dr. Seuss book, and he probably couldn't even read that. And I'm like, bro,
Wow, Ray.
like, bro, like, it's like, I don't know, like, dude, like, coach, do you go on YouTube and watch those like film analysis videos where they
Yeah,
go over and it's like the Jaguars game, he missed so many open receivers. He missed Olave should have had like 3 touchdowns, like wide open, and he missed them. And it's like, bro, Derek Carr, bro, what is you doing? If it's like 3rd and 3, man, bro, they call Michael Thomas slant boy, but bro, it's like the same thing in Madden. Somebody keep running the same thing and you can't stop it. They can't stop it. Throw the slant to Michael Thomas. That's all you got. It's 3rd and 3. I'm throwing the slant to Michael Thomas. Just throw it. You know what I'm saying? I'll call up something for Alvin Kamara to come out the backfield. You know what I'm saying? I feel like it's that simple. I mean, I could be wrong. I could be wrong. But I feel like it's that simple. You know what I'm saying? Then you got Shaheed that could take the top off the defense. And you got Olave. I feel like Olave, you could run a short drag route with Olave. You could run a little post or a dig in the middle of the field. You could go deep with Olave. Olave could do it all. He reminds me of a Lance Moore, but better. I feel like he's better than Lance Moore.
oh, definitely.
It's like you got all the pieces, and we thought you was gonna be the guy. We honestly the type of offense
You thought, not me.
I thought he was gonna be the guy. But it's like the reason why I thought that was because you got all these pieces. All those pieces around you can make an average quarterback look great. And that's my thought process. I knew Derek Carr was an average quarterback, but I'm like, he got all these pieces around him, and he's a part of a good organization. This is going to make him look better than what he is, and it should help him perform better than what he is. But man, it seemed like he's playing worse than how he played at the Raiders.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, that's it. I'm done with my rant.
Okay, Coach. What are your thoughts?
Well, like he was saying in terms of the NFL season, of course, you know, my brother Jerry Lovin Green, he was saying that the Ravens offensive line need to protect Lamar better. And he a Ravens fan, so he definitely right on that. In terms of the NFL season overall, I mean the NFL season, I think overall, it's been good. I don't think it's been one of the best seasons, but yet the same token, it hasn't been one of the worst seasons. But like Raymond was saying in terms of the offense itself, I mean, it's obvious at this point that Derek Carr is not the guy that they thought he was. And of course, you know, I was telling him and Rudolph this from the beginning. You know, a lot of people thought that Derek Carr would be an upgrade over Jameis Winston. And I'm like, no, I disagree. You know, my whole thinking and ideology when the season started was, hey, I would keep Winston and I would draft a young quarterback like a Hendon Hooker, that type of guy. And I would just kind of just keep it pushing, you know. And even if you look at this past Sunday, you know, I'm sure at this point the Cardinals are kicking themselves because they traded Josh Dobbs to the Vikings. And they traded 7th-round pick and got a 6th-round pick in return. Bro, Josh Dobbs looks so much better than Derek Carr. I mean, Josh Dobbs probably could be at this point. I think he might be better than Kirk Cousins for the Vikings. If I was them, I consider that being my guy moving forward. But
So let me ask you: do you think that the Saints took Derek Carr in because of his name, his publicity, versus what he can actually do?
No,
well, I mean, I never been high on. I never been high on Carr. If you look at his record prior to coming to New Orleans, that's kind of what it is right now in New Orleans. And I think the biggest thing is a lot of Saints players wanted Derek Carr. So many of the Saints players like restructured contracts to free up cap space and free up money for them to bring him in. And, you know.
So they were hopeful for
that,
him.
that he would be the answer. And, you know, based on what I saw in Las Vegas, you know, I was never sold on him. You know, I think Raymond was kind of more on the optimistic end of the spectrum. I was more on the pessimistic end of the spectrum. And Rudolph was kind of like in the middle, like trending more towards Raymond. But I was never sold on Carr. I felt like if he was a real franchise type quarterback, he'll still be with the Raiders. And then in addition to that, it's like, man, I knew this dude. I'm like, bro, this dude he's not a franchise type quarterback. He's not a Drew Brees. He's not a Peyton Manning. He's not a Tom Brady. He's not in that realm. And I know Raymond was saying the way the quarterback market is for quarterbacks, like you're gonna have to overpay for a guy. And I'm like, no, the kind of money he getting. To me, I felt like he was getting Breeze, Brady, Manning type money, even though the money is going up. I'm like, no, I feel like he's overpaid. And to this point, he to me, he's showing what he's always been. To me, he's kind of always been like an average type quarterback. I've never seen anything spectacular about him. Even if you look at last year when the Saints played the Raiders, Cam Jordan sacked him twice. And even if you look at Peyton Turner had his career day against the Raiders last year. And we thought it was like, oh, the Raiders offensive line is just that bad. But guess what? He's having the same issues this year in New Orleans. You know why? Because he holds the ball entirely too long. The same way Harold Blood holds the ball too long with Southern, Derek Carr does the same thing with the Saints. And, I think Raymond is more optimistic about the Saints than I am because from what I'm understanding, I know he was in concussion protocol and he was having a shoulder issue. That's as a result of the hit last week against the Vikings. But from what I'm understanding, they have a bye week this week. Supposedly, from what I understand, he's going to be back in the start lineup next week. So I think push come to shove, the way it's set up, they have an out for Derek Carr in his contract. So I think what's going to happen is the same way what happened with Southern and Coach Dooley. I think it's obvious. I'm hopeful they can make the playoffs. I don't think they will. I think what's going to end up happening, Gail Benson is going to have to let Dennis Allen go. And I think they're going to have to part ways with Derek Carr. Truthfully speaking, Raymond is right. Based on what we saw Sunday from Jameis Winston, I think that the issue with Jameis Winston is, I think when he was 6-2 with the Saints, it was like he played control type football. However, anytime he plays from behind, he reverts back into the Jameis Winston from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, that gunslinger that try to force his stuff to happen. And I felt like that was the issue with him down the stretch at the end of the game. He was trying to force stuff. And I'm like, bro, like, you're only down by, one touchdown. You have like 5 minutes left. Like, gradually just make your way down the field. You don't have to, like, force stuff in the double and triple coverage like you did when you were in Tampa Bay. And that's what he ended up doing. And he threw, like, 2 bad interceptions late in the game. And that's really what caused the Saints. But based on what I saw, I would bet on him before I would put my money on Derek Carr, because to this point, this is what Derek Carr been his whole entire career. All those people that were so hopeful of him, if he had a change of scenery, he would be a better quarterback. I mean, I didn't see what everybody else saw. I never thought he would be that guy. And I think at this point, he's been an epic failure and he's been a disappointment. To me, I mean, if I was Dennis Allen, I would pivot and I would go with Jameis. But to me, like Rambo was saying, he's stubborn. He's stuck in his ways. He's a lot like Coach Eric Dooley. And I think that's going to be the thing that's going to get him fired. He's going to stick with Derek Carr. They gave Derek Carr all of this money. He's going to stick with him. He's going to get fired. Huh?
You're going to go out the door with Derek Carr, too?
Yeah, I think Gail Benson is going to end up getting rid of both of them. I think
that's something I kind of want to touch on, too, right quick, Gail Benson. Me, the way I kind of view Gail Benson, I feel like she likes a family. She feels like it's family too much rather than looking at it like an organization. I feel like this was causing her to take so long to fire
Dennis Allen. Yeah. But at the end of the day, just to kind of ramp up my portion of the rant, I think if he wants to keep his job, he needs to move away from Derek Carr. He needs to go back to Jameis Winston. If he doesn't go back to Jameis, I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. And I think he's going to get fired. And I think they're going to get rid of Derek Carr too. So I'm not as hopeful and as optimistic about the situation as Raymond is, because I don't think he can see the handwriting on the wall. He's going to stick. Just to think about it. He went with Andy Dalton last year over Jameis Winston. So for whatever reason, he doesn't like Jameis Winston, in my opinion.
He's racist. I'm just playing. I'm just joking.
No, I'm being honest. I that's my outlook on it. I mean, you said it. I legitimately believe on it, and I'm willing to stand in front of, on each side of it and behind it. I mean, dude, there's no way you could justify playing Andy Dalton over Jameis Winston last year. I don't care what nobody says.
There's 2 other things I kind of want to talk about too. I know when they drafted Jake Haener, I know I I watched the video of somebody saying that the Saints got a steal with Jake Hayner, and I was just watching some of his like his breakdown videos of when he was at Fresno State, which is of course the same state. I mean the same college that Derek Carr went to. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Saints try out Jake Hayner to see how he could become. I'm not saying like he's our guy, but I mean you draft somebody, you want to try him out because just it's like the same thing with Joshua Dobbs. You think a guy's just a jag, just another guy. You ship them off to another team, and he becomes a star. And you're like, oh my god! I bet you the Green Bay Packers are probably kicking themselves with Taysom Hill, because whoever would have thought to use Taysom Hill in that manner, you know what
Yeah,
I'm saying?
yeah.
So it's like I feel like at least try out Jake Hayner, just to see how that goes. Just like last year, they got a chance to try out your boy from Notre Dame. Remember that game?
Trash.
Yeah, he was trash, and that's the thing. At least we know the ball was trash. It's not like he never played or nothing. And
I don't see Hannon being that guy. I mean, you could try Hannon. I mean, if you had no chance of making the playoffs, I say you go with him. But I mean, the position you in now, you just need to ride with James as far as I'm concerned.
Oh yeah, I agree with that.
In terms of the Josh Dobbs, I mean, I think the reason why the Cardinals got rid of Dobbs was because of the simple fact that they didn't want no quarterback controversy between Kyler Murray and Josh Dobbs. But I'm telling you, if the Kyler Murray situation don't work out, at least you'd have had. I mean, just think about it. He gave the Cowboys their first loss.
Right, yeah.
And he played well in that game. And he played well against the Saints Sunday. I mean, he gave the Saints the business.
Yeah,
so I mean, I'm gonna be truthful. I mean, if I was the Vikings, I'm like, hey, man, Kirk Cousins, hey, your time limit. We going with Dobbs.
Right. And one last thing I kind of want to throw out there. Derek Carr better be happy he came to New Orleans. Because imagine if he would have been doing what he was doing with the Jets. The New York media would have been ripping him to shreds.
I mean, I'm gonna be honest. I think they really were pushing for him for a little bit, but I think they wanted Aaron Rodgers more than they wanted Derek Carr. So, but of course, I wasn't high on him either. You saw what the second game of the year he got hurt out for the year.
First drive, like on the third play, dude got hurt. I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah.
I know somebody who drafted him on a fantasy. He was like, "Oh man, it's over for me."
Hey, he better go get Dobbs,
bro. I won't go. I ain't gonna go on the rant, but fantasy football is stupid. This is my first year playing it, and it's like the dumbest thing ever, bro. I would not recommend playing it at all. Just do not even mess with it,
bro. The thing that threw me away from fantasy, I never played fantasy. However, I remember when I was going to Southern, this was like back in 2005. One of the guys that was in my class, this athletic injuries class I had, they was doing the playoffs, doing the fantasy playoffs, and because I don't know if it's still the same, but the end of the regular season is like the end of the fantasy playoffs or whatever. And he had this running back for the Seattle Seahawks. His name was Sean Alexander, and Mike Holmgren rested him at the end of the regular season, and he had Sean Alexander played, he would have won his championship. He'd have won $270. But since he rested him, he ended up losing the last week of the regular season, the last week of the fantasy playoffs, and he lost out on $270. I'm thinking to myself, see something like that, I'd have stopped playing fantasy right after that. Because everybody had to put up in their office, they'd put up like $10 or $20. He'd have won at $270, but he ended up losing.
Bro, it's even this is the stuff that kills me about fantasy. It's moments where I will start somebody and I will bench somebody. And the person who you bench will have a better game than the person.
Yeah.
It's like you can't swap them out. And it's like, so it gets to the point where you start to overthink it. You like, what if this person do this? And it's like it's just so you can't predict what a person gonna do. And it's just, I'm like, it takes no real football knowledge. It's literally just like sports betting. You have to get lucky. That's literally all it is.
But how do you have all these fantasy experts, these players that play this fantasy stuff and they do so well in it? How you got so many guys that kind of got it down to a science or to a T? How?
Me personally, I feel like it's all about you got players who are good, but they're not workhorses, and you got players who are workhorses. Like Alvin Kamara. Alvin Kamara is the number one fantasy running back. The reason why I was able to get him was because he had that 3-game suspension. And a lot of people were like, oh, I don't know if I want to draft him. But if he didn't have that, people would have drafted him. And when you look, Alvin Kamara will catch for like 50 yards and rush for like 50 yards and probably get like a touchdown. He might be like, that shouldn't be a lot of fantasy points, but that
But it
does
is.
add up to a lot of fantasy
So
points.
you think, in terms of fantasy, Derrick Henry is not as valued as much as somebody like Alvin Kamara
No, Alvin Kamara is Alvin Kamara and Christian McCaffrey. You want to know why?
because of the dual threat yards?
Yeah, because they get yards for you get a point for every they get a point for every catch. So if Alvin Kamara get 5 catches,
Oh, yes.
that's 5 points right there. Then you get 50 yards off of each catch. That's 10 points right there for just catches. And like a touchdown is 6 points, and you got rushing yards. So Alvin Kamara have one of those games where he rush and catch a touchdown, rush and catch for 80 yards, catch like 7 passes. He gonna have a monster fantasy game. Compared to Derrick Henry, he might rush for 100 yards and a touchdown, but he ain't about to catch a lot of passes.
I mean, truthfully speaking, don't get me wrong, Kamara is a dog, but in terms of real life, real time, if I had to pick between Henry and Kamara, I think I'd rather Henry.
But that's the thing with me, Alvin Kamara has not given me a bad game. Derrick Henry gave me a hard. He only had 3 fantasy points for me last week. Like, like even somebody like Taysom Hill, who could run the ball and catch the ball. I'll start Taysom Hill at tight end. I had Darren Waller at tight end for majority of my season, and Darren Waller he's not trash. He's just on a trash team with a trash O-line with a trash quarterback. So it's even stuff like that. You got to look at a wide receiver who may be a good wide receiver, but the quarterback may be trash. Like I see that Jalen Hurts is like the best fantasy quarterback.
Yeah, because he's a dual threat.
Right, because he could rush and throw. So that's the thing about fantasy that I've realized, which I'm like, it's still stupid to me at the end of the day. But it's like I understand how somebody could be like, I'm gonna get Jalen Hurts, Alvin Kamara, and like Christian McCaffrey and stuff like that.
Taysom Hill.
Right. And have like a dog fantasy team.
Yeah. It's stupid to me. I never did understand it.
This was my first year. A coworker asked me if I wanted to play. I'm like, why not? I might as well just try it. But after this, I'm like, never again. I might as well just go play Madden for all that.
I mean, y'all had to put up some money for it or what?
Yeah, because I don't like to gamble, but he was like, hey, it's $20 to get in. And me, I want to be a law-abiding citizen, so I'm going to abide by the rules.
Yeah.
So, guys, are there any thoughts to recap of what we've talked about? Let's start with you, Ray. Any recaps?
Recaps that I got. I really enjoyed our conversation today. I hope everybody enjoyed our conversation today. But recaps: fire Dennis Allen. Get him out of here. They should have. Man, what's that black coach name that used to be the offensive coordinator for the Chiefs, and he from New Orleans?
Oh, you talking about Eric Bieniemy?
Yes, go get him. Go get him.
Yeah. I'm with you.
Kick him out of here. Get DA out of here, bro. Get out of here, bro. Man, bring Sean Payton back. I'm just joking. Don't bring Sean Payton back. But
they're not doing too well themselves either.
But hey, they just beat the Bills. They should have lost that game. I don't know if y'all seen that game or not, but they should have lost that game. But the Bills were stupid and had 12 men on the field, and they got a chance to re-kick. But yeah. So the recap, for the Saints, get DA out of here. Southern, Eric Dooley already out of here. Just get a good replacement. For LSU, went out. Hopefully y'all come back next year. Y'all got a pretty decent quarterback in.
Nussmeier not a senior.
No, he a sophomore. So
he gonna be the guy. He gonna be the guy.
Then Archie Manning. I know we didn't test this, but Archie Manning most likely going to transfer from Texas. I don't think he's going to come to LSU, but it's a possibility. But I guess we could touch on that subject.
He's not coming to LSU.
I know because you got Nussmeier there.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the Pelicans, I can't watch them.
Stay healthy.
Yeah, stay healthy. I can't watch them, but I look at the score updates. Pelicans stay healthy. Boxers, y'all box each other. The top contenders, y'all need to box each other.
Yeah.
But I guess it got some big fights coming up in December. December stacked with some big fights. You know, you
Yeah,
got
yeah. No, hey,
Anthony Joshua, Wilder,
the
and you got
all
Preach.
that's on the same card.
Yeah, that's on the same card. And on the ninth, you got Haney versus Preaches.
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie. That's a tough fight for me because, I love Louisiana guys. Reach is my guy, but Haney my guy. Of course, when my brother and Jared Loving Green and I we got together at the meet and greet last year, Dallas. I met Bill Haney. Real nice guy. So I'm gonna kind of be torn for that fight. That's
Yeah.
gonna be a big fight. But you right. I think we need to get Dennis Allen out of here. For Southern, we need Kenneth Berry to be our next head coach, in my opinion. But it was a good episode. Great time, great conversation.
Great, guys, and I really appreciate talking to y'all and love clowning and joking and people. This is how we are as a family as well. So, closing quote: age is no barrier, it's a limitation you put on your mind. Jackie Jonah Kersey said that. So, guys, please like, follow, subscribe. If you have any comments or any topics you would like us to discuss, please put them in the comment section
Oh,
below.
and hold on, Kate, but before you close us all the way out, hey, our new goal, we're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers before Christmas. So everybody that chimed in, hey, subscribe to the channel. Also, check out myself, my brother Jared Loving Green, tomorrow night, Southern Baller Show, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Back to UK.
And also, guys, please follow Ray on Facebook as he sent some great inspirational things, letting you know that God is good and how he loves us so much. So please, guys, anywhere y'all want them to follow y'all, Ray,
Oh
coach.
yeah. I'm glad you brought that up. Follow our guest co-host at one point, Nita Nate. Follow her here on YouTube. Also follow King Ray, at King Ray on Instagram, and Ray Swank 225 here on YouTube. What else you want them to follow you else on Raymond?
Uh, give him my IG, give him my YouTube, and it's just Raymond Collins on Facebook.
All right, guys. So thank y'all for watching, and please, I look forward to y'all subscribing. Y'all have a great day and happy holidays, happy Thanksgiving. Until next time, bye bye.